Okay, this is People of the State of Michigan versus Nicholas Shepard, docket number 20-584FH. And this is the time set for a plea. And I'm told this is a plea to count one. Is that correct, Mr. Austin?
That is my understanding, Your Honor, yes.
Will you waive reading of the balance of the information?
Yes, we'll waive.
Okay, first, Mr. Shepard, would you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. And Mr. Shepard, you have an attorney, of course, and that is Mr. Austin, who you've just privately consulted with. And he says you're pleading guilty to count one and that you're not going to need the other counts to be read. So, Ms. Allen, would you please read count one?
In the People of the State of Michigan versus Nicholas Shepard, file 20-584-FH, State of Michigan, County of Ingham. In the name of the people of the State of Michigan, the prosecuting attorney for this county appears before the court and informs the court that on or about July 1st, 2020, at 3615 Dunkel Road, room 231, Ingham County, the defendant did in count one commit the offense of assault with intent to do great bodily harm less than murder or by strangulation, and that he did make an assault upon Brianna Bulmer by strangulation or suffocation contrary to Michigan law. This is a felony punishable by up to 10 years or $5,000, DNA to be taken upon arrest. A consecutive sentence may be imposed under Michigan law if the assault was committed in a place of confinement and was committed against the peace and dignity of the State of Michigan.
Mr. Shepard, you're being charged here with assault by strangulation. That is a felony punishable by up to 10 years in prison. Also, if you were on parole at the time, it would be required to be a consecutive sentence. Have you had enough time to talk about this charge with your attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand the charge against you?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any questions about what we're doing?
No, ma'am.
How do you want to plead?
Guilty.
If your plea of guilty is accepted by this court, it means you won't have a trial of any kind, and you'll be giving up the rights that go along with the trial. That includes the right to a trial by jury, or if you didn't want trial by jury, trial by judge. You're also giving up the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty and to require the prosecutor to prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. You'll be giving up your right to have the witnesses against you appear at the trial and to be able to cross-examine them, as well as to have this court order any witnesses that you might have to appear at the trial. You'll give up your right to remain silent at the trial and not to have your silence used against you, or if you wanted to testify at the trial. You're also, this also changes some appellate rights when you plead guilty that you need to know about. One of them is that when you plead guilty, you don't get an automatic right to appeal your case to the higher court. Instead, you have to ask them to hear your case. They have to agree to hear it. The other one is that when you plead guilty, there are a lot of issues that you simply cannot appeal to the higher court, unlike going to trial if you get convicted where you can appeal just about everything. So do you understand those rights then, Mr. Shepard?
Yes, ma'am.
Also, if I accept your plea, it means you cannot come back later on and try to say that the plea was the result of some promise or threat that no one told me about before. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
It also means you cannot come back later on and try to say that it really wasn't your own choice to plead guilty today. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a plea agreement, Ms. Allen?
There is, Your Honor. In exchange for the defendant's successful plea and sentence to count one on the felony information, the people agree to dismiss count two. There's also a sentence agreement pursuant to People versus Killebrew that the defendant's minimum sentence will be fixed at 13 months in the Michigan Department of Corrections.
And Mr. Austin, is that a full and complete statement?
It is, Your Honor, and that is what I have conveyed to Mr. Shepard.
And Mr. Shepard, then, that is your understanding also of the agreement?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you agree with it?
Yes, ma'am.
There is an agreement here about your sentence, and that is that the low end of your sentence in the Michigan Department of Corrections would be fixed at 13 months. If for some reason I said, no, I'm not going along with that, I would tell you before I sentenced you, and you would have a chance, if you wanted to take back your plea and start over. You got all that?
Yes, ma'am.
Has anyone promised you anything else that hasn't been said here right now today in order to get you to plead guilty?
No, ma'am.
Has anyone used any threats to get you to plead guilty?
No, ma'am.
Is this your own choice?
Yes, ma'am.
And are you pleading guilty because you believe you are in fact guilty of this offense?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we're talking about count 1. Tell me what you did to Brianna on or about July 1 of this year.
I put both my hands around her throat and choked her.
Okay, did you do it on purpose?
It's kind of spur of the moment thing.
Sure, but you weren't like accidentally choking her. You were doing it on purpose?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and that was done in a way that it could have cut off her breathing, even if it was momentarily. Correct. Is that correct? Okay. And that was at 3615 Dunkel in Lansing, Ingham County, correct?
Correct.
Has the court complied with MCR 6.302, Ms. Allen?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Austin?
Court has, Your Honor.
Are you aware of any promises, threats, or inducements other than those already placed on the record, Ms. Allen?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Austin?
No, Your Honor.
The court finds the plea is understandingly and voluntarily made without undue influence, threats, or promises of leniency. It is an accurate plea. It's supported by the testimony. The plea is accepted, and sentencing is set for Monday, February 8th at 4 o'clock. I hope that works for you, Mr. Austin, does it?
Yes, that should work, Your Honor.
Okay, good, because I think the following Monday is a holiday, and we're trying to fit everyone in on the 8th.
Sure.
Okay, so Mr. Shepherd, you're going to, in some form, remotely, I guess, have an interview with the probation department for the report that they're going to use for sentencing. And then we're going to do the sentencing on February 8th at 4 o'clock. You maybe haven't talked about this with your lawyer yet, but do you think you're okay with doing the sentencing by keeping you there at the MDOC and instead of bringing you here to court?
Correct.
You're good with that. Thank you. Then
Yes,
we
ma'am.
will see you via Zoom on the 8th. Do you have any questions before we go?
No, ma'am.
Okay, you're all set then. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.